Hey everybody! We started a series of interviews with entrepreneurs, and I'm really excited to share this next one with you. There are entrepreneurs all over the world, and I'm delighted to introduce Sean Hall to you. He's in Australia. He's had a remarkable career in large corporate settings, running a $9 billion telecommunications brand, and through that corporate lifestyle suffered some major burnout. So he founded a company called Energx. It's a really interesting company that helps employees avoid burnout. And so I'd love for you to learn more about it. Check it out. All right, and there's Sean. Sean, thank you so much for taking time.
Thanks for having me.
And you're down under, and so we've had to figure out a time where it would work for both of us. Are you originally from Australia?
I'm actually a Kiwi, so I sort of said a bit of born in New Zealand, but I also have my grandmother was Fijian, so you can't normally sort of see that in me, but bit of those mixes with heritage.
Oh, that's great. That's wonderful. Well, let's get right into it. Sean, tell us what you're doing. What's the elevator pitch for the work you're doing?
Energx is a human performance company, and essentially we are working with high performing, I guess, organizations that really have a desire to either build or sustain their competitive advantage. And the way that we do that is we enable their people essentially to take more responsibility for their personal performance. And I guess in our sort of tagline is we say that we do well-being without the woo-woo, because it's really about those practical things that people can do right across their life, not just the physical, but their career, their relationships, and just even the way they manage their time. And we teach them those really simple, practical skills that enable them to be at their best and ultimately have more energy for the things that are most important to them.
Well, that's really interesting. So, like, let's say that you're talking to me. How would I get more energy to do my work?
It all starts with an assessment that we created. And the assessment basically helps people identify what's energizing them, what's not, and helps them set new energy goals at the same time. And with that data, we're able then to personalize a curriculum to them with the skills that they need to actually get to their goals.
That's really fascinating. I would be curious myself. Like, what are some top candidates of things where I'm not getting energy from? Give us some examples.
We look at, they're called the 4 F's essentially that we look at. And the first is fuel. So these are the things that we most commonly think about when it comes to well-being. So sleep, nutrition, exercise, recovery, those types of things. So we'll work out where you're at on those. It's amazing how many smart people aren't looking after themselves with the basics. The next F is fire, which is essentially about a sense of purpose and meaning in what you do. You know, are you passionate? Are you curious and learning? You know, and really taking control of your career. And so what do you need to know in order to do that? And then the third F is feeling, which starts with our relationship with ourselves. So do I have a kind, generous, loving, compassionate relationship with myself? What do I need to do to build that? And then that being the basis for healthy, strong, energizing relationships with others. And then the final F is focus, which is literally we're teaching people how to manage their diaries. And we say, how do I create more space for the stuff that's energizing and important and that creates the most value for me in my life, whether that's personally or professionally, whilst I remove or reframe the stuff that's depleting me.
Wow, so it's really a holistic approach, right? Taking a look at your life from all angles. That makes a lot of sense. It seems like in the workplace we get so stuck with work mode, but it's all interconnected to get really the happiness
100%.
you're looking for. That's great work.
Everything is interconnected, and I think like the reason that I'm so passionate about this is that I had very senior executive roles at Australia's biggest telco. So I was running a $9 billion brand at one point, and then I did a bit of a career pivot and went into HR and was designing culture strategy for 40,000 people. And I loved my jobs like too much to the point that I burnt myself out quite severely twice. And it's one of those, you know, interesting statistics that smart people make dumb decisions, right? And that was definitely the scenario for me, is that I was, you know, a high flyer, high potential talent, you know, whatever you want to call it. But I was still making a lot of decisions that ultimately I was responsible for that led me to burnout, led me to not protect my mental health, and ultimately not be the best version of myself. And so it was that experience that was the catalyst for me really researching all of these different elements, coming up with the 4Fs, coming up with the assessment so that I could pay forward what I'd learned to help other people.
I love that story because it's just reaffirming where so many successful startups start with a very personal experience, and that's the fuel for the idea, for the birth of the company, and for the execution of it. So thank you for sharing that. Sean, share us two things. What's gone well? What have you learned that's going well, and that you're proud of that you can share? And maybe what's something that's challenging that you're still trying to figure out?
That's a very, very good questions. I think the thing I'm proud of is that this is still going, right? I think that this is the hardest thing I've ever done. I think anyone that wants to jump into that entrepreneurial journey, really needs to know what they're getting themselves in for. I'm very proud of the caliber of clients that we've been able to get on board quite quickly. So I'm working with organizations like Facebook and Deloitte, the New South Wales and Queensland governments down here, Aon, that's a big global risk company. And then also I've got some great clients in the financial sector, and even just did some stuff with eBay this week. So I'm very, as a startup, like I'm very proud of being able to get access to those brands. That's been a major learning experience for me in terms of actually how we do things better. I'd say the thing that is always the most difficult, and I think most entrepreneurs will say this, is always product market fit. So how do you get people to value what you do, and how are you positioning yourself in the right way? And for me, I think the challenge that I have and that I'm continually working on is how we elevate this conversation to the C-suite, to really see that, when we look at, when I talk about capacity, right, what we do is we build capacity in people, and ultimately capacity is what is the foundation of performance, of productivity, of innovation. If we don't have capacity, if our capacity is diminished, we can't do those things. We can't be adaptive. We can't be agile. And so this is a sort of a new conversation. And so this is a constant, I guess, source of experimentation for me in terms of trying to have those high-level conversations around the value, the strategic value of what Energx can bring to a business.
Well, Sean, first of all, congratulations on the success that you've had so far. Those are some major brands that I'm actually glad to hear that they're recognizing this need for their people. And on the challenge you described, it's, that really describes a challenge for lots of startups, because what they're doing is innovative, finding the right words to describe that innovation, and then pointing that to the value of and the problem that you address. And so what I've seen, I think, that your message today really resonated with me. So it feels like you're on the right track there. Thanks again to Sean for joining me. That was great. I'm now committed to staying energized at work and in my whole life, for that matter. I hope you're enjoying these videos. If you've got an idea for an entrepreneur, if you know an entrepreneur you'd like to recommend for me to talk to, please message me or comment down below. I'd love to reach out and talk to more entrepreneurs. And with that, I hope you have a wonderful day.